All right. Good morning, Dan. You made it back from the Southern Hemisphere. Welcome back.
Yeah, it's good to be back. A long 2 weeks of travel and hunting, and I will say I was a little bit tired when I got home after that time change too. It took me a couple days to recoup.
Oh man, those flights are so long, man. It's like I think they're like 18 hours in flight or 20 hours in flight or something. It's like you watch 4 movies and you're only halfway there.
Yeah. Yeah, by the time it's all said and done, you got a couple days of that you lost to just travel and of course all the domestic connections. But yeah, we made it and we're back, and just an enriching experience, just a great time over there, meeting new people and hunting with old friends. And so, yeah, definitely one that I won't forget soon. And I can't wait to do something like that, some sort of adventure bow hunt again next year.
Yeah, man, it's so cool. It was really cool hearing about it on the podcast today. And then that morphed into Western hunting and morphed into improvement and styles of hunting and student of the game, like learning lessons. And so it made for a great podcast. But yeah, it was good to hear about your trip and how the bow hunting went. So yeah, it made for a great episode today for sure.
Yeah, I can't wait to get into discussion. You know, it's one of those episodes that, wow, an hour passed and it seemed like 10 minutes. Just a lot of good stuff. And of course, hunting with Sam Davis and Travis Nowotny. We learned some dirt on them a little bit, but it was great to hunt with those guys and see what they thought of the red deer roar. So yeah, it was just a heck of a fun time. Hunting reds with them and fallow deer with my wife, and a new place for fallow deer, and just experiencing the croak, the fallow deer rut. They call it the croak, but just a lot of bucks and a lot of action, and bow hunting as good as it gets. That's why we do it.
Yeah, that's really cool, man. Well, yeah, we'll get into today's podcast. We just want to thank a couple sponsors for today's show. So we want to thank Eberly Stock. So we've both been using Eberly Stock for the last few years, and they make some great packs, including the Free Fall, which we've been using as a day pack. And, we kind of have our favorites. You definitely like the mainframe with the Vapor series, and they have a bunch of different options that fit a good price point. And now this year, they're coming out with a new pack that I think has topped them all. It's my favorite pack. I just got it. And Dan, you used this one in New Zealand, right?
Yeah. The mod frame with the Brooks bag, just, man, taking it to the next level. I mean, this is easily my favorite pack that I've seen from Eberly Stock from over the years. I couldn't be more excited to get some heavy elk quarters on it this fall. But yeah, it's a great new pack, lightweight, everything thought out extremely well, like usual with them, with Eberly Stock. But yeah, it has these little things that they've added that just make it that next level better. So yeah, it performed well in New Zealand for sure.
Yeah, they've got the meat shelf built into it, a really well-designed bag, redesigned the hip belt, like the padding is awesome, packs the weight really well. And so I can't wait to use this for this season backpacking. So this pack is not released yet. It's going to be released this summer. We just wanted to put the word out so you guys can look out for it. So again, Dan mentioned it's the mod frame with the Brooks bag. It's absolutely unreal and will be out this summer. So keep an eye out for that if you're looking out for, I'd say like it's a expedition style pack, like for longer backpacking trips. Although the way these packs are built, they can compress down and you can easily use them for a day hunt as well. But I like the cubic inches in them. I love the design. Like this is going to be a next level pack for this season.
Yeah, it's a dual. I think I want to say it's 4,500 cubic inches. So it has the ability to go big if you need it to, but it compresses down as a day pack too. And it's very light, 5 pounds and change, I believe, with that bag on there. And so it's still very light for what it can do. And so, yeah, it's exciting times to be a customer out there that's looking for a new backpack at a price you can afford too.
Yeah, man, it's awesome. Yeah, I can't wait. So keep an eye out for that and check out all their other packs that they offer. Yeah, like I say, Free Fall has been a great day pack for us, and also the Bando bag. That I know it's a fanny pack revisited that you can actually concealed carry with. So I've been running with my pistol a lot in a bunch of this wildernesses. I really like that thing. It's great for a stalking pack. It's great, for a fishing pack, or for you could probably go a light day. Of course, you can't get a jacket in it, but it's just good for like those essentials. So for me, like for a stalking pack for mule deer, it's going to be awesome.
Oh yeah, yeah. The bando bag's awesome. I like it for some of the axis deer hunting, hunting some private property, and the area is kind of small anyway, so you're not going to get miles and miles from your backpack like you could out west. But yeah, for the essentials and going light, and when you can you belly crawl, but you still have water and a snack and your knife and a game bag or two in there, it is pretty handy. Like, don't overlook like you said, they call it a fanny pack. Can't overlook it, because it's pretty legit and handy to have for for any of these stalking scenarios.
Yeah, 100%. And yeah, they're selling out like crazy, so you got to look out for them, and selling out for good reason, because guys are finding a bunch of use. So thanks a bunch to Eberly Stock, their support of the podcast. I also want to thank On Glass. So yeah, this is a new sponsor. I got their setup for my spotting scope for taking digiscoping. It's just so easy, man. It just like lines up perfectly every time. I don't mind like the magnet on the back of my case, so I don't got to pull my phone out of its case to take digiscoping. They've really thought of everything with this. I think this is the best system for digiscoping that I've ever used. And Dan, I know you're a huge fan of digiscoping. What do you think?
Yeah, no, same thing. I brought my spotter to New Zealand just for this, specific use of getting some good digiscope footage of red deer and fallow deer with the On Glass system, because it's it's just a little tab on the back of your phone, any phone case, and then you can put one of the things on the dash of your truck too. And so I just pop it on there, and it goes to any minimalist style phone case that you can get off Amazon. I think this phone case for $10 or whatever it was. Yeah, there's Brian's there, and it fits in your pocket. There's no other modifications. You just have the eyepiece that slides over your the Oscar 8 from SIG. Escaped my mind there for a second, but yes, slides right onto the Oscar 8. And yeah, awesome. I got a lot of cool fallow deer video this year on the On Glass system. So yeah, totally a worthwhile minimalist style digiscope piece. It's a must have.
Yeah, they have that attachment for your truck as well. So I was able to put a hands-free in my truck, which I've never had. It's really nice to have it mounted to the dash. And then it's just nice that transitions from your truck to your spotting scope. It lines up perfect. It's just really easy to use. So yeah, couldn't be more pumped to have these guys on board with Eastman's Bowhunting Journal. So thanks to On Glass for their products. And yeah, one more I want to thank is Stealth Cam. So man, I've got these cameras now. They've got cell phone cameras. They also have like the standard cameras that captured in an SD card. I'm really excited about using these out west. So as I start to draw tags, I'm starting to think of my uses. And of course, always check your regulation, make sure you're legal where you're hunting. But this is another tool to my toolbox that I haven't really used in the past, but I think I can see huge benefits out of it moving forward.
Yeah, and especially I took a couple to New Zealand to test them out, and I didn't bring any of the cell phone cams, of course, just because I wasn't sure on if they were going to work over there or not with the international plan. I just didn't even want to go there, but I brought their 4K compact camera that, the audio is great. You put it on a red deer wallow, and dude, like awesome video. So beneficial to have, even if you're not like hunting over a particular wallow, what animals are used in that area. And you go back and check it. It's just your classic style camera. There's no cell phones. There's no goofy cards. There's no subscriptions that you have to subscribe to get it to work. So yeah, tested it out over there, and dude, that 4K video is pretty sweet to have. You can really see the detail. So yeah. I've used Stealth Cam for a while, and in the past, back when they're using 35 millimeter film in them too, I was using Stealth Cams. But yeah, this 4K, it's pretty sweet to have.
Yeah, I'm starting to think about all the different uses. And as I start to draw tags and have hunts, there's definitely places where they can just be a huge benefit, And so, yeah, it's really got me thinking outside the box at how I can use these things to see the quality of animals in there, see the animals like in that specific zone. You can just scout while you're not there, And so crossing ridge lines, crossing fences, wallows, scrapes, like there's a bunch of places for these things and a bunch of uses out west. So I couldn't be happier to have this like in my arsenal for this 2025 season. I'm going to be using it a bunch. So yeah, super stoked on them. Thanks a bunch to Stealth Cam for their support of the podcast.
Yep. Awesome. What else do we have going? Magazine stuff like usual, Beyond the Grid coming out, the collectives, the Deer and Elk Collective. We're going to release this Alaska black bear episode soon. It's not quite finished. I've been gone a couple of weeks in New Zealand, so things got on hold a little bit. But new episode released very soon. Probably by the time this episode's released, this podcast episode's released, we're going to be finishing touches, if not done, with the Alaska bear episode, and that'll be the final episode for the 2024 season of Beyond the Grid. And then, looking forward to the 2025 season, starting probably July 1st is when we kind of get into start releasing the new ones, which are hunts from last fall.
It's going to be so epic, man. I can't wait for the release of some of these. I can't wait to see some of your hunts take shape. Jordan Brashears has a great bull. I just can't wait to see, you always think it's going to be the best season yet. This will be the best season yet, man. We have some awesome hunts coming up. So make sure to check out the old episodes on there. There's tons of content. We're always releasing new information on there too. Always releasing new episodes. Some of the episodes that played on the Outdoor channel now get released on the Eastmans Hunting YouTube. So check it out. Dan has a bunch of great elk hunts on there, deer hunts, similar with me, elk and deer hunts, and a bunch of stuff from the guys in the office that get to go to some really cool places and chase some really cool critters. So yeah, make sure to check that out, the Eastman's Hunting YouTube. Everything that Dan mentioned is in our elite bundle membership. So that's where you're going to get the Deer Collective, Elk Collective, TagHub, Internet Research Tool, and both magazines for set price. And it's a really good deal to further your learning curve by years just by taking in this information. So yeah, definitely check that out.
Yep, all good stuff, and there's free gifts that we're throwing in with that elite membership too. So the price can vary, but it's going to be around $100. So really, the value for what you're getting, the information that you're getting is unmatched. I mean, I don't know where you can get as much as that we're giving away with an elite bundle. So it's definitely the way to go if you're looking to subscribe or do anything Eastman's moving forward.
Yep, 100%. Well, right on, man. Let's get into this podcast. It's a good one. Talking about New Zealand hunting, and that kind of branches off into some Western hunting and mindset, improving skill sets. And man, it's a great podcast. Let's get into it.
Let's do it.
All right, Dan. Well, good morning. Welcome back stateside.
Yeah, it's good to be back. It was a long flight and a long trip. It was 2 full weeks I was gone for.
Yeah. You were down there for quite a while. It looked like you got some good hunting in.
Yeah, a little bit of everything. It was a roller coaster for sure, because I was guiding for 6 days and then went fallow deer hunting, and then was supposed to come back and do some red deer hunting, and the landowner wouldn't let us. So it was very interesting how it all panned out.
What? That's no good, huh?
Yeah, just kind of a weird deal. But we killed some nice stags and killed one of the biggest ones that they've ever seen. Sam Davis killed it, and he wasn't too thrilled. The family was a bit upset about it. So I don't have to get into that too much, but such is life.
Yeah, that's too bad. I knew you had a good relationship with those guys down there. And then, you brought over some other bow hunters and brought some business over there for those stags. But yeah, it's too bad. Like when, I don't know if it's jealousy or what it is. Well, you know more about it than I do. But yeah, it's too bad you had a falling out with them. Yeah, that's no good. What a stag by Sam Davis. Jeez, that thing was an absolute beast. Have you seen some that big on the ranch before?
No, that was kind of an outlier for what has shown up in that country over the past several years. And it kind of knew it was around, but we didn't, I asked him about it and he was, wasn't sure, if they were going to kill it or not. And anyway, they thought it was like a 16 pointer, so an 8x8, which is huge for those free range red stags. And when we were hunting it, it was a 14. I thought it was a different one. We were in a different part of the ranch and didn't think it was the same one. So it didn't even come across my mind. But I think the kids, the ranch, the boys had their eye on it, and it was kind of just not great communication. And it's probably, mostly, you could blame it on me because I wasn't, completely like really going after the communication part. Cause I should have said, yes or no, tell us if we can kill this stag or not, because I didn't get a clear answer. And it was kind of more of, well, just don't hunt in this area and you probably won't see them. And so that's how it was just a relaxed situation. Right. So, what are the odds we run across this thing in a completely different area? Once again, I didn't think it was the same one. So the thought never even crossed my mind. But, I think ultimately the owner wasn't too thrilled. So I wouldn't call it a falling out. I mean, I didn't, I'm not a bridge burner. So we left on good terms, and it is what it is. Hunting can take you from the highest of highs and lowest of lows in many different ways. And sometimes, doing business is business, right? And if things don't go perfectly, there can be hiccups. So it's a good learning experience. And like I said, I mean, I'm sure we'll go back and hunt there sometime in the future, maybe the more, far out future, but that's the journey of hunting and guiding and doing business can sometimes throw a curveball in things. But
yeah, well, you didn't have any bad intentions or anything.
No.
And like you say, it was just like a communication breakdown. It's similar. It like reminds me of like almost hunting whitetails on a ranch, where they get attached to a certain deer that you can't shoot, but it's tough to tell what that deer is, especially when you find them in a different location and you're there to hunt stags and he's a good one. And so you go for him. And then Sam's such a killer. He got her done on that great stag. And another one I saw, and then looks like you were hunting with Travis Nowotny, looked like he got a stag. So looks like the trip was a success. Yeah, it's too bad the falling out at the end, but the fallow deer sure looked fun too. That was cool. You got to experience that. Is that your first time for fallow?
Yeah, no, I hunted in Australia for fallow in 2018. So a little bit of experience, but made another connection. And the fallow was really an incredible experience, just for the fact that we're hunting on a station. They call them station, over there, as compared to like ranches that we have over here in the States. But the station had been in the family for 115 years. And so for me, that's what's really, fun and rewarding, is experiencing like culture and like, the farm life and, this very rural area in New Zealand. And ultimately, people that are just like us, I grew up in the country folks, hunters, ranchers, farmers, just like what we're used to, and to go all the way to the other side of the planet and, be able to hunt this place. And basically, I stayed at, Eva and we stayed at the main house, and family dinners and family conversation and camaraderie. And so that was what was the most enjoyable part for me, was just like the culture and the experience with, being taken in by the family. So just much like where we were red deer hunting, I mean, still a great family, and, no regrets there. And so the red deer hunting is the same thing. There's just some great families in New Zealand, great people, and just salt of the earth hunters and farmers and ranchers, just like what we're used to here in America.
Yeah, that's same experience I got down there as well. As we hunted tar and some public ground and things, and even hunted red deer in some public ground, which was really fun. But then the fallow that I got to hunt over there was same thing. It was a station that'd been owned by this family for a long time, and Remy was really good friends with the family, so we stayed in the guest house and had dinners with them, and then the fallow country, like red deer country, reminds me of elk country, at least the stuff that I've got to experience. And it can be more open or more densely forested. I've kind of hunted more densely forested places for the red deer, kind of like parks and open meadows similar to elk. I really feel like the fallow is like similar to mule deer. They like live in mule deer country, it seems like I was even hunting in their type of sage, which is like a different subspecies, but it's more open country. And then they're about the size of a mule deer or so, maybe just a touch bigger. But I really enjoyed hunting them. The nuances to it, like during the rut, they make their rut pads and then they croak, which is wild. And then the configurations on the rack are like crazy. The points they get, the palmation, they're just a really cool species. But yeah, almost similar to mule deer. Did you find that as well?
Yeah, you definitely more of what do they call it? Like the lowlands, rolly hills, a lot of brush that they're hiding out in. And, classic, like you said, the croak is a really cool experience for anybody that enjoys hunting vocal rutting animals. I mean, you got to do fallow deer at least once, in my opinion, just because of the similarities, not only to Western big game, but just the rut. It's such an exciting time. And where we are at, this fallow deer herd, they have established in the last 15 years. And what happened was they escaped from like a high fence game park. And over time, slowly building their population, and they're free running and doing their thing. And there's this particular basin that we were in, and it's set up so perfectly for bow hunting. And it seems like you can hunt a lot of places, and you after you're done hunting it, and you're like, man, it's just not set up for bow hunting quite perfectly, and it might make the hunt a little bit more difficult. But what I mean by that is how the topography channels wind and how much cover you have, and like all these little fingers that are coming down from the main ridges. And so you have all these like little gullies that are like 70 yards wide. And then brush in the bottom. So you have like the perfect amount of cover, and the topography is like tight enough. So bow hunting, that you can just be really efficient with it. And then how it's oriented, as plays a huge role too with the directional winds. And so when you experience a place like this and you have those good directionals, and then you have these great vantages that you can overlook all this stuff too. And it's set up so perfectly to, go from a vantage and then just slip down there and strike, with that perfect topography and brush. And so that's what it was. And that's what it reminded me of, was some of the better places topography wise that I've hunted over the course of my career hunting anything, Western United States or anywhere. So that was really enjoyable to me there, just because of the country, like I was describing. And I'm sure you've been places too where it's just hard to put something together because the wind's never right, or the topography is just tough. And you can't set up where a big buck's going to live. And usually, like a big mule deer is going to live in a topographical area that's advantageous to him. And that means usually, a lot of mixing winds, and it's hard to really dial directional winds and then cover. I mean, they're just wily. I mean, we're all kind of off on a tangent with how smart mule deer can be, but with the fallow deer, and then on top of the perfect topography, then you throw in like numbers, right? Like good numbers of croaking bucks. And so that was the fun part of it too, is you get up on this vantage point and you got, a rut pad here and a rut pad here, and you got bucks, and then you have like the cruisers, the satellite bucks, if you will, and they're kind of bouncing around checking for hot does, and you have confrontation between, the dominant bucks with that little herd of does. And so to be able to view the interaction on such an amped up level because of numbers are just so good was especially fun.
Yeah, that sounds like my experience over there too. It's just like a couple days of the most insane action I'd ever had. And I was just covering country like a madman and looking over a bunch of them. And then I wasn't too good at judging them either. It's like tough to get the feel for judging them. They all kind of look big, but it's like, well, I just want a good representation. But yeah, those things are a riot. And that country you're describing, it feels like a lot of the stuff I'm e-scouting right now for mule deer. Like, hoping to put together a Badlands hunt, also looking to hunt some of the breaks country this year. And it's real similar how you have those ridge lines and then it drops into all that topography. And then the gullies or gulches, are anywhere from, 40 yards apart to 100 yards apart or maybe more. But it's just got so much topography to it. And you can kind of get lost in the topography, but it does make for really good plays on these critters when you can find them. And so, yeah, it's a little bit different than e-scouting the mountains, e-scouting these just different prairie spots and badlands and breaks. It's almost like I find main ridge lines that go for a long ways that I can kind of work down and then glass across from me, which has a bunch of those draws. And also glassing the draws that are just down off that ridge line. And so, yeah, spending a lot of time like e-scouting similar country, not exactly as you were Southern Hemisphere, a bunch of miles away, but definitely like similar feeling country than as to what you're describing and what I saw in the photos.
Yeah, for sure. And then you throw in the mental game to that too. And, we had 2 days to hunt. So 2 mornings and 2 evenings. And that's really not a lot of time when you're being selective, right? And so there's this pressure that you have too, that you want to kill the biggest one that you possibly can, right? But you don't have time. You don't have the time. And so you don't want to be too picky and go home empty. Like you say, you want a good representation of the species. And so, maybe like the first evening and the first morning, that's what we had, was an evening hunt the first day and then a morning. And so we're checking a couple of these different spots, and you kind of get a feel for what you're seeing and what is there. And, one night makes a big difference, meaning that, okay, you see certain animals in the evening, but once darkness falls and then they really mix around a little bit, and then you go back the next morning and you'll see a couple new bucks. You see a lot of the same bucks, but you see a couple new ones too. And you're getting a feel for what's there and like what's realistic and, what type of animal that you're actually looking for. Because ultimately, right, you can only expect, a trophy for the quality that's there. You can't be unreasonable with what you're expecting. And so, yeah, numbers are good, but still you're looking for that top tier animal, and you got to do it in 2 days. And so that was a challenge in itself right there. And yeah, it all worked out on the last evening, but still, in the back of your mind, it's bow hunting and it's not guaranteed. And just because you find, a good one doesn't mean you're going to get a perfect arrow in him and he's going to, be dead within 50 yards. And, and that's contrasting like rifle hunting. So my wife, Eva, she shot one with a rifle, and it's just so much more automatic, right? You see a good one at 200 yards and, we spend some time and you're like, yeah, that's definitely a top tier buck for this area, and whammo, it's all over at 200. But so yeah, the bow hunting's a little bit more stressful if you let it be stressful. It doesn't have to be, right, with this mental aspect of hunting, but you're still just reverting to what tools in the toolbox and all these past experiences that we're tapping into to make it come together in one effort, in one stock. And so that was definitely another level of excitement. It puts another level of excitement into the whole deal. And yeah, we went down there when we saw a couple of the bucks that we were after. We were like, okay, these are definitely top tier bucks, and we're going in for them. And it was just complete chaos when we went down in there with buck movement and does running around. And so, yeah, we made it happen. But just a whole nother level of excitement that having that time crunch really does put on a situation. But Those spots you wish you could spend a week there, just because it's so amazing and the country's so awesome. And in reality, on some of those places, you don't have, maybe 3 days. We were just hunting the weekend, so a little bit rushed, but still, we definitely, I would say, lack of better terms, we got our money's worth for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it does add some pressure for sure. And yeah, you can only do so much with a couple days. And there's nothing guaranteed in bow hunting either. It's so difficult. So you very easily could have came home with nothing. But I think that, what you're describing is like, I feel that in a lot of my Western hunting seasons as well. It's like, you want to set out to kill one of the bigger bucks in the unit or the bigger bulls in the unit, but they are so dang difficult, so tough to catch up to, so tough to put an arrow in, that you're playing this game of like, what are you going to be happy with? Like, what is that level of buck? And you're right when you describe that it has to match like the animals in that zone. Like a lot of the Eastern Montana or like Badlands bucks that I hunt, it's a real exception to get to 180. A lot of those bucks mature are only 150, 160, and still they can be 6 to 8 years old. So you kind of come into it knowing the unit, knowing the possibilities, and then also examining the type of bucks that you're going to see in there, because your goals have to match like the animals that you're going to see. I mean, if you're going out east to go kill a 200 incher, like, I don't know that I've ever seen one of those out there. I'm sure they exist. I've seen 180 inchers, but even those are every couple years I might see one, and so really, my expectations, my goals for that hunt are like 160 inch buck, or, maybe this year setting 170 inch buck. And then also your time factors into it. How much time are you going to be able to spend there? Are you going to be able to go back? And also you can't let these opportunities slip by as well. You can't be passing up 160 inch deer, just say, 320 inch bulls. You can't be passing those if you're only going to get so many opportunities at a season. And so you pass those animals, you run a good risk of eating your tag. But that's the only way you're going to kill a giant 180 inch or a 350 inch bull, is to pass those ones. So it's like this delicate dance of your skill set, of the area you're hunting, the opportunity, the tag, how much time you have, like all these things factor in. And so it's a bit of the game that I'm playing right now with the hunts that I'm lining up for this next season, and my goals and ambitions, and how much time I'm going to spend, what kind of animals I'm going to pass, what kind of animals I'm going to go for. And some of those decisions just have to be made on the fly, as well, as we don't know what type of year it's going to be in that unit with that age class. So yeah, it's a delicate dance that you play with the time, and then there's no guarantees in bow hunting. And so, a lot of my goals are like last year, it was like, well, I want to kill one good bull. I want to kill one good early season buck, one good late season buck. And so, I ate some tags looking for a buck that was going to fill my dreams, 180 inch deer that I wanted to kill. I ate some tags along the way to eventually accomplish my goal and put in the time and effort, but it happened. So I don't know. It's kind of like part of this preparation that we don't really talk about, but that's really important when you get on a hunt, because we all want to kill the biggest age class or the biggest animal that we can find, so it's definitely a delicate dance.
Yeah, and that's the power of hunting a unit year after year. That's a huge part of it. And while size of animal can vary year after year in units here out west due to winter and moistures and just overall numbers, but that's a huge advantage when you can come back to the same area year after year. Because I mean, what hunt have you been on where you've been into an area the first time, or maybe a particular hunt, you drew a tag and you're like, okay, that was great, but I wish I could have the tag next year or again, and then I would really know how to attack this area. That's how it always is for me with new areas or new species, where you'll learn so much about what the winds are doing and what the animals are like and where they like to be, et cetera, et cetera. And so yeah, that's a huge benefit is coming back and hunting an area twice or three times in the grand scheme of things. But I think, situations like that, and like you expressed too, you have to be okay with eating your tag. And especially if you have, you're trying to look for a certain type of animal. And, on this fallow hunt, would I be okay with going home empty? And it's like, well, yeah, it's bow hunting. You ultimately have to, but it's like, I want a good representation of the species. I'm not going to be that picky. And so my standards drop a little bit just because of that mindset. The full experience. I've only killed 2 fallow deer in the past in Australia, and hunting with my wife there. That was her first time hunting fallow as well. And so, you want to get your hands on a nice specimen, right? That's kind of part of the whole experience when you're over there. And so, yeah, all these factors, and it happens. We go home empty, or may go home with an animal that wasn't quite what we were looking for, but maybe it was a great encounter. And I can think back hunting in Idaho a few years ago, and I shot this little bull elk, and it was the experience I was looking for, though, because it was at 6 yards. I could hear this thing chewing. And so there's all these factors that you factor in on, what's an acceptable size of animal for you as a hunter going into an area. And it's going to vary for everyone. My expectations or my desire for an outcome of a hunt is going to be different than anybody else's. And vice versa, with you too. I mean, it's going to be completely different based on, what fires you up. That's what it's all about, though, is what fires you up. Where are you getting the most fulfillment out of a hunt? And, sometimes that's coming home empty, and sometimes with maybe a younger animal than you would have hoped. But it's about fulfillment and getting the experience that really fires you up and enriches you further towards your career of bow hunting.
Yeah, that's exactly right, man. Yeah, it doesn't have to be a 200-inch mule deer to get me excited. It doesn't have to be a 400-inch bull. Like, sure, I'd love to shoot those animals, but I also spent a season where I was like, I'd killed some good bulls, and I was like, man, it's 350 or bust. And I remember hunting really hard, and I didn't get much enjoyment out of that hunt. I did not find a 350 bull. I did not kill him. I don't even know if I got a chance at one that season, but I passed up a lot of good 320s, 330s, where normally I'd go hunt them. And I got done with that season. I'm like, that wasn't that much fun. It's like the fun of me is like making plays and hearing them bugle and jockeying back and forth. And I didn't get any of that because I just sat on the vantage point and went, no, he's not big enough, and went on to the next spot. And I didn't get much enjoyment out of that season. And I didn't kill a bull. I ate my tag, which is fine. It was a learning experience. But yeah, I kind of look at things differently now. And even now, like, I'm starting to shoot for those bigger bulls like that, where I am happy eating a tag and having one opportunity at a gigantic bull of that caliber, because I know that's the only way I'm going to hunt them. But yeah, you have to be careful too that you don't set your sights too high, where then you don't get any hunting experience. You're not improving your hunting skill set, and you really didn't have that much fun because all you did was looked at bulls and never made a play at them. And so, I know, like in Wyoming, like, you have killed some great bulls there. And so you kind of shoot for a 350 plus inch bull. And most years, like, you're able to fill that and get opportunities at those type of bulls and get narrow in them. And last year you ate your tag in Wyoming, now for good reason, because you killed a giant in another special unit in another state, but you had your sights set on a great bull where you didn't pull the trigger on a smaller one and then through there. And so, yeah, these goals are ever changing and ever moving. And, even the places where I hunt giant bucks, like, yeah, I'd love to kill a 200-incher, but it's not always going to be in the cards. And, I'm extremely excited and grateful to make a play on a 180-inch deer. To me, that's a giant deer. And so, yeah, you kind of like balance all this out of what you want out of your season and what you're happy with. And, I'm definitely not going to settle with an animal that I'm not thrilled with. So for me anymore, like, yeah, I mean, I don't need to shoot another 5-point bull in my career. Like, I'm good no matter where I go. Like, he's got to be a good 6-point that gets me excited. And we're all at different places in our journey. And, there's possibly a state this year where if he's 320 or better, like, I'm going to make a play. And then, I have a tag where I'm getting back to my roots and hunting a bunch of this wilderness, and it's going to be a long pack out. And for me, like, I'm looking for some of those giant bulls that live in this unit. So my sights might be a little bit higher on a hunt like that. And, you do run the risk of not filling that tag, but you're also like giving yourself an opportunity at greatness too, that there are great bulls in there and you're going to hunt really hard. And so, yeah, I don't know. It's such a balance when I make my goals for this season. And my goal is always to kill like the best animals in the unit. But to do that, man, you got to give yourself time and you got to give effort and you got to be willing to pass up these bucks that are really good, mature bucks to be able to possibly see the next level. So it's a dance that you have to do with your enjoyment, with your goals, with what the unit can produce, like what's the opportunity like there. And so all these things go into like setting your goals for the season. But this is a major part of preparation for me, is figuring out what I want out of this season, what I'm willing to put forth as far as like time and effort, and then what my goals and what's really going to make me happy in these places, and then also getting in the unit, making real-time adjustments to what I'm seeing and what I'm finding. So yeah, it's delicate for sure, but I think this is part of the planning phase.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, there's all these little factors, reflecting on, like Wyoming last year and not killing one, or, going home empty. But was I enriched on the hunt? Absolutely. And did I learn things? Yes. I mean, I still believe that harvesting something really gives you the experience to move forward, because that's the part that you get to do the least amount of, right, on a hunt, is like the actual shot and kill. You do a lot of glassing, you do a lot of spotting, you do a lot of hiking usually, and so you get great practice at hunting, but the actual killing part, you get the least amount of reps as a Western hunter. And so harvesting is the best teacher, but still, you couldn't be more right when it comes to all these factors that you also have to consider when hunting. And I was chuckling, I had some great experiences last fall in Wyoming elk hunting, and one of them was this little 5x5 bull that he decided to walk down the hill and feed in front of us at 40 yards for like almost an hour, and then he came up and he laid down at 10 yards in front of us. And I'm sitting there thinking like, man, this is such a cool experience, but do I need to kill this bull? And I was like, well, I'm not that hungry. I already have a bull that I harvested in Idaho, so I don't have to have the meat. And then, I'm hunting another state on a limited draw tag, so I am going to have another chance. And then you factor in that, like, okay, I can get this tag next year. I mean, it's an easy tag for me as a Wyoming resident to get, a general tag. And so you're factoring that in too. And then you're like, okay, I'm 14 miles back in here on horseback. Do I need to pack out, a young bull that I don't need the meat for? And it's warm-ish out. I mean, we could probably work at night and we would be okay, and we would be able to get them out in a timely manner. But those are the things that were going through my mind as I'm watching this young bull feed in front of me. And yeah, a great experience. But, it's just sometimes you don't have to kill something to get that excitement and to get that, feeling of accomplishment. And you can still, go through the reps, right, and be like, okay, this bull's at 40 yards. I'm going to get my bow in position. I'm going to practice, moving at the right times when he's looking, or maybe his head's buried in the bushes, and see how much movement I can get away with. And so there's all these things that you can test and that you can learn on some of these moments, being up close with animals that you don't plan on harvesting, that are incredibly beneficial to the toolbox for, your next hunt. And so, and ultimately that's what enriches me too, is just having those encounters and, getting in the reps that, like, yeah, I could kill that bull if I wanted to. But that also builds confidence too, of like, okay, maybe I am doing things right. Maybe I obviously did set up in the right place. And yeah, we are dealing with a great wind, and how this little canyon's funneling the wind, down, like this is working. And so all these little positive reinforcements when you're like in close to an animal, once again, they don't happen like a lot, like repetitiously, like glassing or hiking or, scouting or anything like that. And so once again, from an unsuccessful hunt, I feel like you can learn so much and grow as a bow hunter so much.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good point. You're right. And I don't think you want to like, I love what you said about getting in the reps of like harvesting animals, butchering, packing out those close encounters. Those reps are so important to your development as a bow hunter. And so, when you take on bow hunting, like you got to get some kills under your belt, and you also have to like work your way up the trophy rungs of the ladder. It's like if you set your sights too high too quick, you're just not going to accomplish your goal and kill that animal, or you're going to duff it when you get the chance because you just don't have the reps. You don't know how to slow your heart rate down, don't know how to execute a good shot. And so, yeah, like, I think guys' goals are all different. And, somebody's goals that, in their first 5 years or 10 years of bow hunting or don't have a bunch of harvest, I think they should shoot a cow, or they should shoot a legal bull, or they should shoot a good 6-point bull or a 5 or 6, or, and then once you get a bull like that under your belt, you gain confidence, like, okay, I kept it together there. I think next season I can shoot for a good 6-point bull or a legal bull or whatever it is. And so, those reps are so important. And, it's like my development as a bow hunter has been because I, find an animal that I'm happy with and make plays and make mistakes and also harvest those things. Well, that's what gives me the confidence to be able to set my goals higher as well. And so I think this is all development of a bow hunter. And so I think you want to be pretty realistic with your goals as well. And it's still not easy for me to pass good animals. I know I was on my late season mule deer hunt, and bucks that I'd normally shoot that are good, heavy 4-year-old, 5-year-old 4 points. Like I had a couple of them in good positions late in the hunt. And I'm just like, nope, I'm not going to do it because I know that there's giants in this unit. I've seen them, I've chased them, and I've still got time on my side. I can still come back and still hunt these bucks. And I look at it and I go, I've harvested a bunch of those good 4 points. I know I can do it. I know I can go kill that deer. Would it be fun? Yes. But I'm going to hold out and see if I can get one of these giants down that I know live in here. And so, yeah, you're constantly playing that game. But I do think you're right, especially Western game. And we have so much experience, like you travel in New Zealand, me as well, Australia, Hawaii, and all the Western game hunts that we do year after year. Like me and you have harvested a lot of animals. And so we have that confidence in our skill set that we can do it and we can accomplish it when we find the one we want. And I think you have to build that in. Like you have to take those opportunities, you have to kill animals, and then you can step up from there. But this is all part of like the building skill set phase of bow hunting, and becoming consistently successful, becoming proficient is like you have to flex that muscle and make things happen and ultimately harvest animals, is like that trigger time. Nothing replaces it. You have to get that experience. And so that's one of the most important things is a developing bow hunter. So another person's goals is not your goals. It's all personal, and you have to figure out what's right for you, what you'll be happy with. And then, you also don't get caught up in social media or what other people think, or you're in your own journey, and I'm sure some people could look back at some bucks and bulls in my past and go, gosh, why'd you shoot that? But you just can't let it affect you. You're on your own journey and your own path, and the goal is to become proficient and consistently successful, and you're not going to do that without harvesting some animals along the way.
Yeah I think it's overlooked. I would say it's overlooked, going back on the developmental part of your journey bow hunting. And that's one of the reasons why I did this red stag guiding, this red deer guiding on the place. And I've always been one to be very proactive about developing my skill set and just trying to become a better student of the game constantly. And you do it long enough and you kind of, I was going to say, you run out of different ideas or run out of different methods to really develop your skills other than just hunting yourself and doing your own thing and hunting. But that's a big reason why I was so intrigued with this opportunity to do some guiding. Not only, my goal and this red deer thing, there was no financial gain in it for me, over there guiding for these red deer. And I told the owner too, that, I just want to help you guys make some money. You have a red deer problem. You want to make a little bit of money. And, these red deer, They don't cost a lot. And so my mythology from like inviting Sam and Travis, these are two guys that I think are very good hunters. And I invited them because I respect them, and I think that I probably would have something to learn from other guys that are really proficient at what they do too, and learning from their craft. And so this is, once again, another level of development that I thought is a good way to apply that to my own skill set, is inviting these guys over. And not, I mean, these guys don't need guides. I mean, I say I was guiding over there, but they don't need guides. I mean, they're great hunters. They know what they're doing. And, but the benefit for me was learning from others, learning from Sam and Travis, and what kind of, tactics or what kind of nuances are they tapping into that they're being so successful out west as public land hunters, and then seeing them use it, on red deer, and then just sharing that experience. We all love bow hunting elk. It's really exciting. And then you throw that in bow hunting red deer during the roar. It's an amazing bow hunting experience. So enriching, but seeing those guys, experience it for the first time was, another level of gratification for me, and definitely feeds me as a guide at heart, right? Like I love guiding people. I love sharing my passion with other hunters. And that's ultimately why I began guiding back in the day in 2010. But I learned a lot from Sam and Travis, and it almost sounds like a science experiment, but it was really fun taking them, to this place and showing them kind of what the red deer rut was like, and seeing them, in their bubble too, in their, spot where they're really comfortable with. And what was really interesting is, Sam and Travis, they have a bit different, I was going to say tactics. It's not really
styles.
tactics. Yeah. Just styles of how they get it done. And so I learned a few things, and there's a lot of like, yeah, of course, this is why, these guys are so good out west, is because they have, a few little things that they're really good at, and that they've put this together and then have applied that to hunting. And so it was really cool to witness that and see them be successful firsthand. And once again, that goes back to the development stage, for me, because I'm seeing these other guys do it and seeing what they're tapping into to be successful, and some of the little things that they're doing to be successful, and then using that, being like, yeah, I can get better at that, or I should focus a little bit more on that specific style or technique. And that's ultimately going to improve my skill set as a bow hunter. So yeah, on the surface, it looks like, that they were the ones benefiting, and, I was charging them nothing, and, I didn't make any money, but ultimately my thought is I'm investing in myself, right? I'm investing in my skill set. I'm investing in my development. That's going to further me along in my career and just make me a better student of the game. So that's what was really enriching for me for doing this red deer hunt.
Dude, that is so interesting. Yeah, I didn't even think about it that way until you described it. But you're right. It's yeah, like being able to hunt with those guys, see their strong suits or weak suits, see how they think about different situations, and then watch them make moves or what they think they can get done. And I know I have a couple buddies that are great hunters, one that's more aggressive than I am, and he makes plays, he covers country, he may spook animals, but eventually he finds something, gets it arrowed. And then I have another buddy that's really patient, and he like still hunts through the timber, and it drives me nuts. He moves slower than I do, where I like to get there and then slow down, but he's consistently successful. And these guys have built their two different styles of hunting, and they both work. And similar, like I have built my own style of bow hunting, but yeah, that's really interesting, Dan, to hear you talk about that. And then to be able, like, I mean, realistically, not that we like to, not patting ourselves on the back, but these are some of the most successful public land do-it-yourself Western hunters out there. So being able to spend time with them and see like how they think about situations, to see them execute shots, to see their strong suits or weak points, or how you would treat a situation differently, or to have discussions about that. Yeah, you probably grew more in hunting with those guys than you would doing your similar solo trip and hunting red deer. Like, you're able to look at these situations and learn from them and gain information from them, man. That's beautiful. Yeah, I really like hearing about that. It's super interesting topic. Yeah, just like hunting with other good guys and seeing how they look at situations. And, similar, like I think I have that with my buddies too, my Dan Heverin or the Dylan Ness or these guys that I hunt with. They're really good at their craft and they work really hard at it and they're great bow hunters. And so, yeah, I think like a lot of my development has probably come from those guys as well, and hunting with them, different situations and how they treat them, and places where they make mistakes or places where they're successful. But yeah, man, that's awesome. That's really interesting. And I bet you grew as a bow hunter, like being able to see that. Is there, like, would they, like, we have so many similarities with these guys too. It's like when you hunt with somebody good, and my buddies I've been hunting with long enough to where our styles are really similar when we hunt, so I bet you saw a bunch of similarities and then little nuances or little differences in the stock or when they could make plays or the way they'd read situations. And I'm just totally guessing here, is like a lot of what you learned.
Yeah, they're very good at reading the situation, and they're very not over eager, not like the young buck type of guy that wants to jump in and just, try to go kill. And which I expected. I mean, these guys are very seasoned bow hunters. So I didn't expect that, but very calculated. And, once they kind of get in their zone, right, they're very good at what they do in that zone. And it can be hard to keep it all together. You have a roaring stag 20 yards from you and you can't get a shot at it. And, it's exciting stuff. I mean, if that doesn't get your blood pumping, you're probably dead. You're a corpse, because that's about as exciting as it gets. But, and I won't disclose everything of their secrets or anything, but like Travis is very calculated. He's very good with his footwork. He knows when and how to slow down. And I think that's why he's such an effective mule deer hunter. Is he's very meticulous with his footwork and sneaking and being slow and being patient. And that ultimately is very important on any Western hunt, probably maybe one of the most important things. But he also knows when it's time to go too, which is also can be a hard skill to really get dialed. And then on the other side, you got Sam. And I mean, talk about like a physical specimen. Nothing in the mountains is going to stop this guy physically. And he's probably one of the tougher guys that I know. And I was joking with him about it. Like, he's probably one of the most ranchy guys I know. And what I mean by that is just tough, just incredibly tough. And you've heard some of his stories. This guy will endure anything to be successful, whether it's, physically, of, doing a stalk in your socks for 2 miles in Arizona in the cactus country. I mean, this guy will do anything to be successful or to get a shot at an animal if he wants it bad enough, and physically, and with the elements out there, it's not going to stop him. So he's incredibly tough, not only mentally and physically. And so this is jokingly, Sam, if you're listening to this, like, sometimes you're like the retard strength, I say that jokingly, but the retard strength, but he also has the mental fortitude and the skill set to, like, once he's in the zone, to like be focused and make very calculated, like scientific decisions to get it done in the heat of the moment. And so what we can learn from that is being tough is really good. You want to be tough. You want to be able to endure. You want to have that physical fitness level that's at the top so you can perform to the best of your ability. But that's only just a small part of the equation, or maybe half the equation. You still have to have that mental fortitude to put it together in the heat of the moment. And so that's really what I gained out of Travis and Sam. Just a quick synopsis. I mean, we could go on for hours about, the hunt or whatever, but you take things away like that and you reflect on it, and you're thinking about, like, I could apply this to my skill set, and I know I could do better here, and I could get better here. And like with Travis, I maybe a little bit more patient. And a couple of the guys that I know in my little circle that are consistently good hunters have like really good footwork. And I know that sounds silly of having footwork. And we've talked about this in the past too, with not like balance and like doing these, mobility drills or, this kind of stuff I do, but the critical spots of a stock where you're keeping your balance, you're keeping your noise at an absolute minimum, and that slow movement and knowing what type of movement you can get away with when, you're 40 yards from a bedded stag and you can still basically walk up on them if you're moving slow enough, because once again, I mean, their movement is what catches any ungulate's eye. And so, yeah, I could go on and on about, what I learned, but it's cool to see it firsthand. It's cool to see, what skill sets that they really excel at and are really, really good at. And so they're contrasting a little bit, Travis and Sam, a little bit different, like how they roll, but still similar in the grand scheme of things of putting it together in the heat of the moment, like putting all the pieces together, knowing when to draw your bow and getting close and staying calm to make that good shot. So yeah, very cool.
So interesting, man. It's like great insight and takeaways that I don't think you get unless you're another like great bow hunter, and we definitely have our own strong suits and skills. And yeah, in the same breath, it's like, yeah, I think I've got that perseverance or that never quit, and that's helped me and served me a lot over the years. But you're right, that's only half the equation. Like I definitely have that in spades, but in my younger years, I would go too hard to give myself a chance. I'd blow up animals. I wouldn't end up killing on that hunt or killing the animal I was after because I pushed too hard. So it is like knowing like when to slow down. And then the footwork and precision and patience of Travis when he finds an animal he wants, and that's like, there's a lot of things that we can work on that we haven't even talked about. Like this year, like definitely my physical fitness. I've been doing these mountain tough workouts every other day for my runs, which have been great, dude. It's just building this mobility and building like some of these smaller support muscles around my joints and things, flexibility, like just some great movements that I've been doing that I really like. But one of the things that I'm working on is my balance. And so I've been using a slackline. I got like this slackline board that I've been using, and I use it every day, and I'll maybe just do a 5-minute session on it, but I balance on one foot, I balance on 2 feet, and it's all these little muscles, these balance muscles. And I really think that's going to help me on the stock, help me from not falling off a mountain, like to be really coordinated, like going down super extreme terrain and things, but definitely like during the stock, like being able to have that balance to stop on one leg or to have that control to move slow. And so, yeah, I think these are like, at this point in my bow hunting career, I'm looking for the smallest percentages of gain to be at my very best. And this balance and part of that stock and that footwork that you talk about is such a huge piece to it. And all of these components that go to bow hunting, we can improve on if we pay attention to it and we're intentional with our work coming into the season. So I think this balance work is really going to pay off for me. Will it make me 1% better, 3% better? Like who knows the actual percentages, but it will make me better, stronger in these positions. And then also, that flexibility, or that, like, so many times you have to hold still. Like for my early season high country buck, I can't even tell you how many hours I sat still waiting for a buck to walk out or like get out of his bed or come out. Even the buck I killed was 2 hours of sitting there, but having the like flexibility and mobility to be able to hold still and developing these patience. Like it's one thing to talk about it. It is so tough to have a buck of your dreams sitting there and you have to wait 2 hours or 4 hours for him to stand up or walk out, or sitting on a herd of elk waiting for him to come out. Like that patience is so huge too. But so much of this work we do in the off season, I think really pays dividends come season. And so that's like a couple of the like off the wall things that I'm working on that, I don't really talk about, but I think will really benefit me come season.
Yeah, that's a good point. Once again, I mean, it's like, yeah, maybe I should be doing the slackline thing, because that's taking that balance and that the footwork to a whole nother level. And I'll do one leg stuff or one leg squats and, balance exercises and whatnot, but taking it to another level like that is so important. And once again, you could compare it to, shooting at 120, 130 yards, with your bow. Realistically, are you going to shoot at an animal that far? No. But when you encounter something at 60 or maybe 70, those shots are so much easier if you become proficient at 20 and 30, and then 60 and 70 is almost like nothing. And so you do that with like a slack line. This is what I'm seeing anyway. You do it with a slack line, and you're taking this level of training that's way up here. It's so elevated. And then, you're probably not going to need that much balance or that much work on a stalk or a hunt, but that's going to make that stalk and that footwork so much easier if you put in this next level of training into a specific, spot of your skill set. So yeah, that's great stuff. And there's all these different things. There's all these different areas of your skill set that you can do things like that, and you can work like that. And, just a physical thing is probably the easiest to do, the easiest to address, and, becoming, very fit in the mountains and doing huge hikes and huge huge summer excursions, putting on the miles, and then, doing a few miles during hunting season for 10 days in a row, all of a sudden isn't that difficult. And so these are the things, as not only beginner bow hunters, but experienced bow hunters can do to really take their skill set in the next level. And ultimately, that's what it's all about. And we've preached this so much, is being a student of the game. And just when you think that you're the top dog and, you're the king at killing big bulls or big bucks or whatever it is that you're doing, when you think that you're the best and you have that mindset, there's 20 other guys that are becoming a better hunter because they have a open mind. They're a student of the game, and you're growing. And so I just think that's so important in the journey of bow hunting.
Yeah. 100%. Well, and killing these animals, there's so many variables that go into it. So you find the buck you want or the bull you want, you got one chance at them, and you have to make 100 right decisions. And who knows what's going to make the difference in that time. Balance may not even come into play in that situation or scenario, or maybe you're sneaking on a side hill that's uneven and you step and you lose your balance for a sec, and that movement, that buck catches it, it alerts him, and all of a sudden he blows up and you didn't get a chance. Where if you had worked at your balance, you're able to put your foot down and stay totally still in your upper body, you don't move, that buck doesn't catch you. Like, who knows what's going to come into play? There's so many variables, but all you can do is prepare and work at these different skill sets that go into your craft of bow hunting to give yourself the very best chance when you find that bull that sets your heart on fire, that buck that sets your heart on fire. So yeah, I think that's a big part of it. And I couldn't be more excited for this upcoming season and trying to be at my best and able to put together a really good season last year. But I know it's not going to come together easy. There's going to be trials and tribulations. There's going to be animals that set my heart on fire that I don't kill, that I've got to pick myself up from and get back after it. But man, I couldn't be more excited for this upcoming season, opportunities, possibilities. And I'm going to get back to I found out I did not draw my Montana special elk tag, which is fine. But now I have a direction. And now, instead of getting ready for rattlesnakes, I got to get ready for grizzly bears, and it's like, I already had a mountain hunt, but I'm really going to push my fitness level. So I can hunt a lot of these wildernesses I hunted back in the day and do a lot of backpack hunting and be mobile and be able to be really effective in this country that doesn't have as many hunters in it, that I know there's some great bulls in. And so, now I can start to prepare for like a specific hunt and how it's going to go. And instead of having to put on miles, it's like elevation is going to be key, and day after day endurance is going to be key. And also that mental fortitude of traversing back 5-6 miles, not finding elk and having to move to a new drainage to go locate him. So just preparing myself for these upcoming hunts, but I couldn't be more excited. It's going to be a really fun season.
Yeah, that's what it's all about is, once we kind of figure out what tags we do have and where we're going to be hunting and, the type of terrain, and not that it's too scientific of, how, I'm going to, train, specifically for each particular hunt, which you might, depending on what you're doing, if you're encountering some extremes. But that's the exciting part of it, is preparing for the next season and looking ahead. We're always looking ahead, and we're building on our skill set and just becoming better and better at this. That's the goal anyway, becoming better and better at this after every hunt. We want to learn. We want to get better. We want to just become better every hunt and looking forward to the next hunt and being more proficient. That's all we can do. That's really all we can do. And that's why, bow hunting is not something that you're going to become proficient at in 1 or 2 or 3 years. Some guys are probably, and gals are, more, they're gifted in certain ways. Maybe they have a great deal of patience, and they know how to apply that to hunting, and harvest become, they find harvest easier than somebody that has less patience, but maybe they're, more physically gifted. And so, there's all these things that come into factor that it just takes years. It takes years. I mean, how long have you been bow hunting? And how long have I been bow? It's been a long time, and we're still trying to nitpick ourselves to become better.
Yeah, man, that's the beauty of it. You summed it up really well by saying, like, student of the game, continuing to learn, continuing to improve. And that is the game. It's like, I never sit back and go, I'm good enough I never rest on my laurels. I never, I'm always putting in the work to improve and come into this season and give myself the best chance of success. And I think that's a lot of the enjoyment, is this is like something that you never master. Even though you get good at it, there's always room for improvement, and you want to be at your very best. So next season, when I find that giant bull or I find that giant buck, due to my hard work and effort in a hunt and in a unit and scouting and e-scouting and everything else, but when I finally find one, I've worked really hard at my skill set to give myself a really good chance of success. And I think that's the beautiful thing, is like this endeavor, the sport that we chose. Like there is no mastering it or like getting to a point where you're like, yeah, I'm just good. I don't have to work this season at it. Like I'll kill a giant bull or I'll kill a giant buck. Like I just never get to that point. I always know how extremely difficult it is. And I'm always putting in the work to find success. And I'm always trying to improve at this craft of bow hunting, because it's something that's so extremely difficult that even when you get good and proficient at it, you still don't have it mastered. There's still room for improvement, and there's still more to achieve. There's no ceiling here to the type or the size of animals that we can harvest. There's no limit to the efficiency, like of how we can hunt the mountains and how we can find these critters. And so there's like more on the horizon, which keeps me really excited about bow hunting year after year.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. And that's why, doing these hunts, these off-season hunts, whether it's New Zealand or axis deer, whether Texas or Hawaii, and just, spring bear, doing all these other hunts to improve on that skill set. And if you can do it at an accelerated rate, you're going to become so much better, so much quicker. And that's the one thing that, and I know you've witnessed this too, but like guys from New Zealand and Australia, I would say as a whole, the hunters, they're probably some of the most proficient hunters on the planet, because, largely the animals, the quarry is they're feral, and there's no seasons, and there's no limits, and there's no tags. And so they get a lot of repetition in harvesting animals. Whereas, us here in the West, if we, a normal guy is going to have an elk tag a year and may or may not harvest, and maybe a deer tag and they may or may not harvest. So, and when they do harvest, you get maybe 1 or 2 a year, compared to, some of these guys that are, man, they're killing 40 to 50 animals a year with their bow because of opportunity. So I find that very intriguing too. And that's probably a whole nother podcast talking about Kiwis and guys from the Oz. They're just such proficient hunters because of the repetition, and they do it so much. And so, that I love being around New Zealanders and Australians for that too, just because they've seen a lot. They've usually harvested a lot, and they're very good at what they do. And there's definitely things to be learned from international hunters as well, and applying that to here at home out West.
100%, man. You couldn't be more spot on. Yeah, those guys are killers. They just get so much practice harvesting and so much practice stalking. And same thing with my buddies from Hawaii. And now if they only hunted that one place or that one species, they'd be a bit limited. But, like my buddies from Australia or Hawaii, they also come to the States and hunt these animals, and they hunt different species in different environments. And so they're able to apply this wealth of knowledge and experience that they have into other places. And it doesn't take them too long. And yeah, they are masters at their craft. Or, I say you can't master, but they're really proficient, really good hunters due to all the experience they have. And it's tough to catch up to those guys here in the States. And like hunting experience is so crucial to our development as bow hunters. And so we have to remember that and do a lot of high opportunity hunts, and do spend as much time hunting these critters as we can, because that's really like a huge basis for improving our skill set, is just like experience and time hunting. And really it's made me the bow hunter I am, and it's made you the bow hunter you are, is like applying all this preparation and applying all these skills to a hunt and testing yourself and then building upon it. So yeah, man, you're spot on.
Yeah, guys from Hawaii, you could probably say those guys are the best hunters in America as a whole, in the States, because of the repetition and, your buddies, and that we all kind of know each other. And yeah, they totally are. I mean, it's kind of a small group, but I mean, Hawaii is a hunting culture, I would say. That's why axis deer were brought to Hawaii, was, as a food source, a gift to the king in 1865. But so hunting goes way back in Hawaii, the roots and the culture, and that community of hunters that have been doing it for all those years, that they are the best hunters in America. I'm convinced.
Yep. Nailed it. Well, dude, that's an episode. We did an hour. It's good to catch up to you. I'm so glad you had a good trip to the Southern Hemisphere, to New Zealand, and chase red deer and chase fallow deer, man. It sounds like an epic go. So yeah, thanks for joining me this morning, and good to catch up with you. And yeah, I'll see you over at the office. I think I'll be over there next week. So we'll catch up there and record some more. But yeah, thanks, man. Glad you had a good trip.
Sweet. Absolutely. Yeah.